Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to go over, excuse my voice, I'm just getting over the flu and feel much better now. But today we're going to go over my go-to jig rod fishing setup. I got two of them I like to fish with. Two different occasions, areas, but relatively both on the heavier side. And I'll explain that more when we get into it. But I just want to go over my go-to jig setups, my go-to jigs, and jig, I should say, the one I usually start out with, and then explain to you where I throw them and why I use what I use. And I think the first thing we're going to start off with is, so my favorite cover that I like to fish in is heavy cover. I like fishing shallow. I like fishing in the reeds, fishing in the pads. I like getting in there thick. And when I'm going to do that, or when I'm doing that, I'm going to throw, it's going to be a 7.6. What is this one? 7.6. Well, yep. No, this is 7.4. So the rod length I like to go for is a 7.6. 7.4 is my next best. And then, but you can throw a 7, whatever you're comfortable with. But my favorite setup is a 7.6. I'm getting into heavier stuff, heavier cover. 7.6, heavy action rod. Heavy power rod with a fast action, And, so you get more of your bend at the tip than you do throughout the whole rod. And it works for me. I haven't lost any fish that wasn't actually my fault, so it's been working really good. And the setup, or the line that I use for when I'm fishing in really heavy cover is I don't even use 60-pound braid. I think I went over this before. I use 50-pound braided line. This is the Bass Pro Shops XPS black braided line that I'm trying out, and so far it's pretty good. I haven't had any issues with it. So the reason why is I like the black. I always used to color my line black when I'm fishing in heavy cover. I just feel like that black line camouflages better with the weeds, and the fish don't tend to really notice it as much. I don't know if that's actually what's going on, but it's just confidence for me, and it's been working. So I'm not gonna, I can't knock it. I can't, if it's been working. With that, the 50-pound braid, you can cast further too. And heavy cover, you don't want to cast, a mile, because then you got to haul in all that. You get a bite, then you got to haul them through all that sludge and weeds and whatever it is that you're going through. But 7.6 heavy power rod, fast action, 50-pound braided line, black. Another thing about the line, the XPS from Bass Pro Shops, the black braided line, it's cheaper. It's a better, it's more budget friendly. And I was a little bit worried about that because I was worried about the quality, but I've really set the hook really good. I've let some good ones. I've had some pretty good hook sets, and I've tested out pretty good this last summer. No issues at all. I think the quality's there. The line looks a little bit gray right now, but as soon as the line gets wet, it actually turns black. So I'm going to keep the same line on here for the next year, test it out some more, and see how that goes. Like I said, I think I talked about it in another video, but that's what I'm going to do with that line. No issues with it, and it's a better price point for line. You're not spending about $30-40 per spool, or per roll, per line box. And I think I don't know how much that XPS, I think it was like, I don't know, I'll put the price on the screen here, but that is my shallow rig. When I'm in a shallow heavy cover jig rod. Specifications. This rod is actually by Savage Gear. It's the Squad. It's they're cheaper model. and they're 100 size reel. Now their 100 size reel I've really put into the works. I don't know, I'm not real confident. I haven't had any big issues with this reel yet. I've only been 1 year into it. So I'll keep this combo, but I'm not sure. The rod handled pretty nice, not too bad. But I'm feeling a little bit, I might be changing this up a little bit. My other rod you'll see is my main go-to jig rod. It's one that I built, but it's a whole different setup. Anyways, so that's this rod here, but you know, find a rod that you're comfortable with and start with that. This is the heavy cover rod, and I use the jig. You're gonna see this pretty normal here, or not normal, but you're gonna see that these are very similar to what I throw. So here it's just a swim jig. You know, I've got a craw style bait on there, and I just throw a swim jig. This one's by JE Custom Jigs, with their black and blue jig with the black and blue mud bug. And this, if I'm throwing in heavy cover, this is what I'm throwing. And a lot of times, heavy cover, I'm always going to start with black and blue. I might switch it up to green. It's the June bug. Maybe green pumpkin, but I'm always going to throw black and blue first. Confidence. And if I'm swimming in open water, which I don't do much with braid, I'll put like maybe a small I don't know, like 3.5 or 4 inch paddle tail swim bait on there, and then just swim it. Slowly swim. But that's, you know, and you're probably wondering, well, heavy cover, you know, why just a swim? Why just swim jig? Well, I've tried it out a couple different ways. So they got so many different jigs for so many different things. You know, you can. This one's your casting jig, cast and reel, whatever. This one, you can drag it through heavy cover. This one is called a brush jig. Well, whatever they are, they got one. So this swim jig, what I do with this, I can swim this. I can drag it, I can flip it, pitch it, punch it, whatever you want to do. I mean, get a heavier enough jig, you can punch it, but and the only thing is, you know, when you're punching it, there's, you know, some stuff that can hang up when it breaks through. So be aware of that. But you can do it, and I've done it. This is a very versatile jig, a swim jig, and it, you know, it'll swim. It'll go through cover really nice, and it has, and that's why I like it. That's why I really like this jig. This is #1 jig that I fish with, and that's my biggest reason for picking that one. Now the other setup that I have, we're gonna jump into more like, say, open water or like dock fishing. It's the rod length is kind of similar, so maybe not. So if I'm gonna go more open water, I'm not gonna throw as long of a rod. This is a 7.3. 7.3. But it's a heavy power rod, fast action. So same power, same action. It's just a shorter rod. It's a few inches shorter, and that's what I like for when I'm more open water fishing. You know, even when I'm fishing it around, you know, some timber too, some timber. Up and over, up and around. This is what I like, and you'll see same style jig, swim jig. This one's also from JE Custom Jigs. This is a new color he's got, and I'm going to try this out. You know, the next open water we get. I really like that color. It's like a smoke purple with a pearl purple jig, and I just got a gut feeling that that's going to get just hammered, but don't know until you try it. So that's gonna be in the spring, which is a long ways away. But when I'm fishing open water, jig, so the line, you can see this. So I like to throw fluorocarbon line. I throw straight fluorocarbon. There's no leader, no braid to leader. Straight fluorocarbon. I don't have to mess with a knot. I don't have an issue with stretch. the strength of the line, the strength of the line is I'm going to throw 20-pound fluorocarbon line, 20-pound throwing jig. So it's actually the same line that I throw those big swim baits on. Why so heavy? Well, because I really like to slam that hook set. You know, some of these swim jigs, you know, they got stout hooks on them. Sometimes it takes a little bit more to puncture that through, you know, in their mouth. So I like to really hammer that hook set home, and I don't feel comfortable doing that with anything less than, I'll do it on 17, and this actually might even be 17. This might actually be 17. 17 to 20-pound braided line looks very similar, and they fish very similar too. So I'll take that back. For the amount of line that I like to fish on here, okay, it's not just 20, it's 17 to 20-pound fluorocarbon line. That's where I feel comfortable fishing on an open water rod like this. And like I said before, it's because of the hook sets. I really like to hammer those hook sets home, and I just feel more comfortable. It's a confidence for me. Find your confidence and stick to it, and if it doesn't work, figure it out. Make some adjustments and figure out what it is that's not working, and then go from there. Everybody's gonna be different. You know, angler A, B, and C might have the exact same setup, but it's all gonna be different for them. It's really weird to think that way, but it's because everybody fishes differently. So just because this works for me doesn't always mean it's gonna work for you. Maybe it's a good starting point. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. It's a good starting point for you guys. You know, you can see what works for me. Maybe it'll work for you. If not, hey, well, you know, try what works best for you and then adjust from there. But anyways, the open water rod is this one. Yeah, this is the rod that I built. I guess the reel sizes, like the reel speeds, like the ratios, I like to go with jigs. I know in a lot of my rods, actually, probably a little bit faster than what most guys throw. I like 7.3 to 1. I don't know, I get used to it. And that's just what I've been throwing, and it's working for me. And sometimes, you know, so with that, the faster gear ratio, if you're gonna swim it, you have to, like on your reel, creep it. If you're gonna slow roll it, you gotta really creep it, because your bigger gear ratio, you're bringing in more line per revolution, so you're actually reeling in a lot faster. Now I'm thinking about it. So I mean, that's where I'm okay with it, because I can do that. Sometimes I swim a little bit faster, but you know, that's okay. I'm used to what I'm throwing, and I'm comfortable with it. And a lot of this, I'm gonna throw this setup. I'm gonna throw around docks. I'm gonna throw, like I said, I think for wood, anything, you know, wood. I still might throw it through sparse reeds, nothing thick. I've tried throwing this in thick reeds and thick cover, and it just gets weird. And what I mean by that is fluorocarbon, you know, it's low stretch, very, very, very low stretch, but it still stretches. So even though you get hit in the weeds and you slam that hook home and you try to get them up and out of there, there's still so much stretch in there that they can still wrap you around. And I've lost a couple of fish doing that. So that's why in heavy cover, strictly braid, we're gonna be out a little bit more open. I'm gonna throw fluorocarbon, 17 to 20 pound fluorocarbon. And the setup's been really good for me. Zero complaints with it, and I've caught a lot of fish on it. So, I mean, it's worked for me. But, you know, okay, so on this one here, you can see I have a cross sail bait. So I'll probably, you know, maybe what I'll do, I'll probably still swim this, but I'll probably end up changing this, the mud bug out for one of his swim baits, a paddle tail swim bait, and, you know, swim it, just slow roll it, swim it, and then go from there. It's gonna get hammered, I know it will be. But those are my two setups for fishing jigs. And that's something that I take anywhere I go, any lake, wherever I'm at. Those are the setups that I'm gonna just throw, you know, I'm gonna have on my deck. I'm gonna have those on my deck almost every time I'm out. If I don't, that means there's something else that I've ran into, or I've already fished and I know that they want something different, or it's an area I'm gonna be in that maybe those aren't gonna be the thing. Sometimes that's it. Like maybe I'm fishing around all strictly rocks and boulders. If that's the case, then I might not throw those. Maybe a little bit of a variation of one, maybe a heavy finesse football jig head, you know, with a little skirt on it and then a little plastic. You know, I'm thinking more about smallmouth at this point, but something like that is where I would throw, especially offshore. So those are the rods I'm typically going to have, other than you know, that instance. I'm going to have those out on the deck probably about 99% of the time. So hopefully this helps you guys out. That's what works for me. Those are my go-to rods and my go-to jigs is the swim jig. Very versatile jig. I can do almost anything with that jig, just about anything. You know, you gotta be careful with the cover you're fishing in. You know, heavy wood, you know, it could wedge in between branches. There is that. So, I mean, I have fished it around wood before and with success, but it can still get hung up. So just be aware of that. It's a good starting jig. You know, if it doesn't work, if that jig isn't your go-to jig, you know, keep fishing with some different style jigs and find the one that works for you. But that's what gets most of the work done for me, and my success is with that jig and those rod setups. So hopefully it helps. And you know, if you guys haven't already, you know, please subscribe to the channel. And the ones who have, thank you, and I appreciate everybody for watching, and we'll catch you next video.